afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well? Is my audio clear?
Yes, yes, Miss
Thank you.
Mai. Can hear
Thank you,
you.
Christika. So, thank you for joining us today for this informative session. My name is Mylin Chan, and on behalf of TDCC team, we are delighted to welcome parents, teachers, and members of the community as we come together to support children during these uncertain times. Before we begin, please allow me to share a short video about today's sessions. Thank you.
Welcome to today's informative session, Navigating Uncertainty, Strategies Parents Can Use to Support Children's Mental Health and Well-Being. The Developing Child Center is truly honored to have Dr. Kaylee Sumner, educational psychologist, joining us today to shed light on practical, evidence-based strategies that parents, teachers, and caregivers can use to support children's emotional well-being during challenging times. Dr. Kaylee Sumner is a UK-trained educational psychologist holding a doctorate in applied educational psychology. With over 16 years of experience across England and the UAE, she has worked with local authorities, schools, and organizations to improve social, emotional, and academic outcomes for children and young people. Her research passion lies in the application of positive psychology principles, supporting well-being and resilience in individuals and systems. Dr. Kaylee works both online and in person, providing therapeutic and systemic support to families, schools, and organizations. An international keynote speaker, she has presented across the UK, Dubai, France, Miami, and Bahrain, and has spoken at major conferences including Optimus Education, Outstanding Schools Middle East, ICSFP Solution Focused Practice, International School Psychology, and WIN International Conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Kaylee.
Hi, Dr. Kaylee. Please, um, we cannot hear you, Dr. Kaylee. Please unmute.
Hello, sorry about that. I've just discovered my unmute button. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for joining everybody. I just wanted to first start by acknowledging what a very stressful time, a very anxiety-provoking time it's been for everybody. And I know the question on many people's minds is how do we support our children and young people during this time, as well as trying to navigate this ourselves. So for today's session, I just wanted to share things that I've learned on my journey as an educational psychologist, on evidence-based strategies for supporting children with their mental health and development, but also things that are trauma-informed as well, which is specific for this situation. And whilst a lot of the strategies are grounded in evidence, I think it's very important that you also use what you feel is right for you and your family. There'll be things that feel relevant and things that might not feel so relevant, depending on your individual circumstances. So take what fits, I would say, for this, and also to acknowledge that whilst we're having a collective experience right now together of navigating this very uncertain situation, people also have their individual circumstances, and that's contextual to them. And also for people, it may be bringing up past experiences that come to the surface when something feels very threatening or frightening. So really today is about going through what our body is experiencing right now as adults and what our children and young people are experiencing, and ways and approaches that we can use just to help bring some sense of calm back to our everyday routines. So as I said, the information being shared is trauma-informed to support well-being, with some practical advice as well. There's also some additional things that we have and that we can send over, which is specific scripts and activities, because all our children are different and unique. So sometimes a tailored approach is helpful as well, for specific circumstances. So I really wanted to start with an adult perspective on this, because one of the things that we certainly learn as child psychologists is regulated adults is what's important for supporting our children's mental health and well-being. And we very much acknowledge that this isn't a time where we're all feeling very regulated, and that's to be expected. So for us to have an understanding of what's happening in our mind and our body at the moment, that's really important. And stress can show up in many ways. And the distinct thing about this situation is that it's a prolonged stress. So it's not a one-off impact of stress. It's happening over a period of time, which can have more of an impact on our mental health well-being, and also the physical signs and symptoms of that. Again, people can respond very differently to the same event. So that's something to acknowledge as well. So when we're talking about the things that we're feeling, of course, many people will be feeling very worried, very startled, very jumpy, very on edge. Hearing any type of noise can make people feel on edge or jumpy at the moment. And also a sense of sadness and grief for the loss of our normality and our normal routines, and the uncertainty and not knowing quite what's going to happen going forward. Anger and irritability. So our coping mechanisms right now are reduced in terms of how they would be normally. So we have something as humans that we call a window of tolerance, and that window of tolerance right now for many people is pretty full. So small things might make us feel very irritable and very frustrated and very angry that are happening throughout the day. And then also some people experience numbness and detachment. So that can be feeling disconnected from their body. And that's also a coping mechanism to deal with a very stressful and threatening situation. It's a way for us to try and protect ourselves, and disconnect from feeling currently what's going on for us in our body. With all of this, it's very much because we're in a state of fight flight a lot of the time. And so that's putting a high level of stress on our body. And our body is designed to detect threats within our environment. And so that now is in overdrive for us, which leads to these feelings and also physical symptoms. So some of the physical symptoms that people will be feeling will be like having a tight chest, fast heartbeats, shallow breathing. We will feel jumpiness, adrenaline, very low energy at times, and tearfulness, reduced sensations in our body at times, sleep disturbances, headaches and stomach aches, and overwhelm and exhaustion. And this is our body essentially doing its job to try and keep going when feeling like you're in a threatening situation. So these are some of the physical symptoms that you may be experiencing yourself during this time. So just some practical self-care tips, which I'm sure won't be new to you in terms of what we need to do during this time to support our children and young people's mental health. So it very much is now a case where we're the leaders for our children and young people, and their reactions and their emotions are very dependent on ours and how we're responding. And it's a very difficult situation when we're trying to regulate ourselves, then to be trying to regulate children and young people when we're not feeling grounded ourselves during this time. So this is why it's incredibly important for us just to take time to reflect on where we are in our body at the moment, what we're feeling, and practicing as much self-care activities as we can, so that we are in more of a steady state to be able to respond as events occur. So prioritizing all the basics. So in psychology, we have, I'm sure you've heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right now, our basic needs are very much feeling under threat. So it's trying to get our basic needs under our control where we can, what is within our control. So our sleep, hydration, nutrition, and movement, whilst also acknowledging that at the moment, some people may feel like they don't have an appetite because the body is now disconnecting from the digestive system, or some people might also feel the need to eat things in high sugar to give themselves energy because they're feeling very drained and exhausted. Planning simple routines and micro breaks. And again, I feel this is something that is individual at times. So with any very distressing situation, what psychology teaches us is having a sense of routine is still very important to help us to function and to process what's happening. And they almost describe it as like a pie chart. So we need some time to be able to sit and process our emotions. And then we also need some time for our regular routine, which keeps us feeling a sense of safety. And so that extends to things like if you had particular rituals that you do as a family. So that could be, on a Wednesday, you have a movie night. Like still keeping to those routines and rituals really helps yourself as an adult, also children, feel more contained with their emotions. So yeah, breathing is something that always comes up when it comes to regulating our emotions. And that's because when we're in a state of fight flight, our body's in overdrive and our heart's racing and we're panicking and anxiety is increasing. The way to connect ourselves back to our body and the rational part of our mind, our thinking brain, is through breathing. So even 3 deep breaths during a really stressful situation, it can help us just to connect back to the part of the brain that will help us with like problem solving and reasoning, because when we are in fight flight, we can be disconnected from that. Of course, connection, we know that's really important. And one of the things to be mindful of during an event like this is catastrophizing, which is very normal because of what everybody's experienced at the moment. But it's something that can turn into an unhealthy coping mechanism. And what we mean by catastrophizing is really inciting lots of anxiety and lots of fear and lots of things and lots of following information that isn't accurate, and sort of jumping ahead like 3 or 4 steps in our mind, which is natural to do uh, when we're feeling high levels of stress and anxiety. But it's always good to be able to check in with ourselves and realize, when are we catastrophizing? And some people find certain scents and smells very comforting. So lavender is an example of things that people use just to help themselves feel more grounded and more calm. And in connection with the catastrophizing, the using reliable information for alerts and limiting news exposure. I know a lot of the people that I'm working with, a lot of things are increasing their anxiety through what's being shared online, that often some of it is inaccurate. And, we're not sure what's created through AI these days as well. So it's really important that we sort of don't get stuck in a cycle of constantly checking the news and constantly checking social media, that then will lead us to be in a loop, which just increases anxiety. So that's something that I know has added to people's stress, of the things that are being shared online. And having a plan in place for your family right now, and that again, it will look different for different families depending on your individual circumstances. I do have some templates, which I can share with you after this. If you drop us a message, I can share a template of what a family plan would look like. But the focus of having a plan is creating a sense of safety for yourselves at the moment, to know what to do in different situations and what the plan and response would be to that. So having your family plan gives you a sense of safety to know that, okay, if a situation changes, then this is what the plan is and this is what we need to do. So moving on to children and young people, they will experience different things through different ages and stages of their development. So this is typically for children that are exposed to a threat, loud noises, or perceived danger, some of the things that you might see. So it's not the case that all children will be displaying these behaviours, but if you do see that children are displaying these behaviours, is quite a normal response to what's an abnormal event for them. So with the young 0 to 2, intense crying, clinginess, and sleep and feeding changes, feeling out of sync. 2 to 5, increased periods of tantrums, dysregulation, might see some regression. Things like toileting accidents, if they're excessively worrying. You'll see play that reenacts their events. So children in these early years, a lot of the way that they're going to express what they're experiencing is through their play. So you will see some of that. Their understanding of what's going on at the moment will be enacted through their playing and how they're playing. and fear of separation and waking throughout the night. So that's a big thing at the moment that a lot of parents are sharing, that their children want to be very close to them, which is very natural during a time like this. So fear of separation is going to be increased. As we get to 6 to 12, increased worry, and then more physical complaints, things like headaches and tummy aches and feeling sick, concentration difficulties, and as I'm sure adults are experiencing that as well, difficulty focusing, and you get at this age also a lot of repeated questions, and that's absolutely okay. Repeating the same information to them is going to be very valuable at this time, because it's going to help them to understand and process. And the more we repeat things, the more it helps children understand. So the reason that they will be asking a lot of repeated questions at the moment is because when their anxiety increases, they're seeking a sense of control. So how they get that sense of control is by more information, because they're not sure exactly what's happening. So they're seeking that information from you as their trusted adults. And so when they feel that anxiety spike again, they may well ask the same question, because they're looking for that feedback that's just going to help regulate them. And then for older children and teenagers, mood swings. Some teenagers will be more withdrawn, quite quiet, and some teenagers use humor as a coping strategy, and seeking constant information from online as well. Uh, Again, that's something that we need to be incredibly mindful of. Certainly, my advice around that at the moment would be that we monitor what young people are accessing online at the moment, because that can be something that adds greatly to their anxiety, and that can have implications for their mental health depending on what they're consuming. So just to say that, these reactions are quite typical reactions for an event like this. So some trauma-informed principles for supporting children. If I was to put it in a nutshell for you, what we need to do now is focus on creating a sense of psychological safety for our children. And the ways that we do that is through routines and predictability. That's one way. And so sort of the logging back on, whilst it wouldn't be expected that they're going to be able to engage with their learning in their at their usual cognitive capacity, that's very unlikely to be possible at the moment. But to engage in some sense of routine with learning, or activities of their interests, is really important for them right now. Their connectedness to others, to you, be able to still be able to be connected with their friends at this time, and choices. So and this applies also for us as adults, that when we're feeling very out of control, often what brings us more of a sense of calm is to be able to make some decisions and choices. So we feel very out of control when things aren't within our ability to make changes. So we have to focus on the things where we are able to control and make choices. So for children and young people, it's things that are simple and relevant to them at this time, and they're having choices of what particular movie it is they're watching, and what piece of work they start with. Just small micro choices, but it's giving them a sense of control and empowering them during a time when we can all feel quite powerless. And another thing is to validate feelings before trying to fix them. So a lot of what we see, which is very well intentioned, actually, is that we often try just to brush children's feelings away. Don't worry, everything's fine. Don't worry, right? Nothing to worry about. But that doesn't necessarily help them to process that emotion and to understand how to deal with and manage emotions. So the validation of, I can see that you're feeling scared right now, and this is scary, can be helpful for children to process it rather than store it in the body. And so emotion coaching is a technique that we recommend as psychologists, which helps children to be able to process their emotions in real time. And then that helps them to be able to regulate as well. So validating feelings before trying to fix them is always a number one step. Just be curious at the moment about what your children are experiencing, and they will be experiencing different things. And I know, depending on age and stage of development, they'll know different things about what's happening now as well. So the validation for what's coming up for them is incredibly important. So just to start with, what I have seen from parents that I've spoken to already. So one of the things that is a main concern is, how do I answer my children's questions around this? What kind of things do I say? How much information do I share? And certainly in the younger years and the early years, it's not really about sharing like details or lots of information, because they're not at a stage and age of development where they're going to be able to fully understand that. But what I would say is that they are absolutely going to pick up on our emotions, and they're going to pick up that something's different, and that there's more anxiety, and they'll pick that up through our body language, and through our tone of voice, and through observations. So it's very much in the early years about soothing children. So lots of extra cuddles, co-regulation, and keeping the routines as much as you can, and simple reassurance phrases for them: I'm here and you're safe. And minimizing exposure for them to any images or loud noises through the TV where possible. And the same within early years, they will process their emotions through play and drawing. So if you want to sort of have more of an insight into what your child's understanding at this age, just giving them pencil and paper to draw out what they're feeling can be very powerful. And they will express a lot through drawing or storytelling. So using brief and developmentally appropriate explanations for them is important, and just that reassurance that they are safe and you are here and they are safe when you're there. And offering choices again is another way to just bring back a sense of safety. And routine charts can be very helpful, because I know at the moment there's lots of questions that are coming up for children and young people. When will we be back in school? When will I be able to go on the play dates? And we don't have the answers to that. And it's okay to let them know that we don't know when that is right now. So having a routine chart of what their day will look like tomorrow, just a quick run through with them before bed of the things that will be happening tomorrow, is a way that they can feel prepared, ready for the next day, and then they know what to expect. And so for primary children, is that from speaking with families, I know that people will have different views in how to approach this and what they feel they want to share with their children. What I will share with you is from the perspective of a child psychologist. So always do what you feel is most appropriate for your child in your unique context. But one thing I would say, where we don't provide children with any explanation for what's going on, or we tell them a completely different narrative when they're older, they do have much more of an understanding of what's happening, then perhaps we would expect, even if they haven't had sort of that verbal information regarding it, they will feel what's happening around them, and they will know that the adults around them are operating in higher levels of stress than normal, and their routine obviously is very different to how it normally is. So a conversation does need to happen with older children. Uh, how you do that is, of course, your choice in what you feel is the right for your family. But this is from a child psychology perspective, in terms of creating a sense of psychological safety and trust. Because sometimes if we give children a different narrative, and they're of an age where they can understand what's happening, then it can interrupt their trust. So they'll start to lose trust with adults around them, because they know more about what's going on, but haven't had that sort of conversation and reassurance. So it's just one thing to be mindful of. So they say during the primary age that it's very important to correct any misinformation. So it's starting with a question about what they do know and what they do understand, or what their thoughts are, is a good place to start, because then you know where they are, and then you can correct misinformation, and you can also reassure them. And here are some example scripts what you might use. And labeling the emotion that they feel during this time is incredibly important, because labeling what children are feeling and experiencing is an intervention in itself. So that is a way for them to process that emotion and understand what's happening in their body. If we deny that the feeling exists, it will still be there. It isn't then being processed and regulated. So labeling what you see from them is really important, and maintaining the routines at this age throughout all the ages, and simple calming tools for primary age children. There's lots of different breathing exercises that are really helpful. Again, we can share some of those with you. Uh, one example is, with children, young people, it's like, take a big deep breath in and imagine you're blowing out a candle on a cake. So then they will take the big deep breath and then the big blow out, and then that just helps them to feel more regulated. They also have one called starfish breathing. So that's like they'll put their hand out and they'll run up with their finger. So when they're running up with their finger, it's a deep breath in. And then when they're running down with their finger, it's a breath out. Up with their finger, deep breath in, hold at the top, and then down and out. And you do that all the way to get to the end. And that just then helps them to feel more calm within their nervous system. And there's also like muscle relaxation techniques that you can use, like tensing different muscle groups in the body that can help us to relax, and also helping children to visualize a safe space. So if they're hearing a lot of noises and they're feeling really anxious, sitting with them, closing closing your eyes and imagining what their safe space looks like, and doing that through the imagination can be another way just to help them feel more calm and grounded in their body. So some of the practical activities that are suggested for these situations are having a family calm box. So a box that has sensory items that are regulating. So be some of their favorite toys, things that sort of they can feel, and that can help with the tactile regulation. Throw in favorite storybooks. You can even read storybooks about dealing with terrible or difficult events. Then during this stage, a lot of it for children and young people is certainly in the primary age and early years is through play and through games. The more we can connect with them at the moment through play and the games that they enjoy, the more a sense of calm that they're going to be feeling. Another technique that we would use if children are feeling highly anxious would be to help them to draw the character of their anxiety. So that would be they could give their anxiety a name. So there's a famous book that we use, which is called The Anxiety Gremlin. So it could be the anxiety gremlin, the anxiety chimp, whatever name they want to give to their anxiety. And they draw it, and that helps them to externalize it. But sometimes, if we feel all consumed, we feel like the anxiety is us and it becomes us. So by drawing it and externalizing it and giving it a name, it helps us to feel more of a sense of control and know that the anxiety can be external to us and we have some control over it. And again, they're helping to visualize a safe space in their mind. So for adolescents, a different picture, as we'll know, at this age, they're really very much driven by their autonomy. So the accurate information is important and trusted adult connection. And being direct with them where you're able to be and inviting the conversation with them to open the conversation up. It's very much about creating safe spaces so they know they can come with any worries or concerns or questions that they might have. And giving teenagers the opportunity to talk about what's happening is really important for them right now. And not all of them will want to talk, and that's okay. And as long as you are checking in and creating spaces where when they're ready, they can do. Very much as with the earlier ages, emotion coaching is still applicable for teenagers because just simply naming what you see from their emotion can be a validating experience for them. So even if they don't want to talk about it any further, they know that it's being seen and it's being acknowledged. And of course, at this age, the social support and the social connection is most important for teenagers and their peer support. But we also have to be mindful of the supervision of that currently to make sure that there isn't any catastrophizing or misinformation being shared. So online calls supervised and being aware of rumors and misinformation, being mindful of that too. And promoting meaningful action can be very helpful. So that helps give a sense of purpose to them, small acts of help and kindness within the community, and really highlights the strengths that can be happening in a situation like this. And again, will give them a sense of empowerment. So some common scenarios that might come up for younger children is my child keeps asking if we're going to be hurt. And so when children do ask questions like this, so it's important to acknowledge their emotion of feeling worried and then reinstate a sense of safety. So right now we're doing all the things that we can to keep safe. And if you feel that your child is old enough to fully understand and comprehend, then letting them know what the plan is, what the family plan is. So that could be the family plan in a situation where our leadership tell us that we need to seek safety. That means we'll go either to this space or down to the basement so that they're aware of what would happen and feel part of that plan. And if the teenager is refusing to talk, again, just I'm here when you're ready. I care, and we wouldn't put overly pressure on them to talk right now, but just the check-in so they know when they're ready and if they want to, that option's available to them. So really, the key takeaways is children and young people regulate themselves through us, and that's their strongest protective factor for their mental health and resilience, is how we're able to uh, lead them during these times. And I want to be very clear that it's not possible for us to all stay calm. I don't personally think that's a realistic uh, target for anybody right now. So it's just important that we're aware of when we feel like we're spiraling, and that's not the time to go into situations where we're trying to manage anxiety with children and young people. We need to ground ourselves first. So whatever tools and techniques work for us, what makes you feel more calm and regulated, using them before trying to regulate children and young people is really important. Just having those things for ourselves, using calm, honest communication, dependent on age. We do have a parent guide that has different scripts for different age ranges as well. So if you send us a message, and we can send that out to you, and so it tells you at each developmental level. Use language that you feel comfortable with and that feels appropriate to you, of course. But these are just general guides, and keeping the routines and predictability and connectedness where we can, and having a family strengths message that our family looks after each other. We have a plan, and we'll always face things together, and having that sense of collaboration right now is the most important thing for maintaining some level of resilience. Of course, just to share with you important numbers that everybody should have access to. And I have some time to open up to any questions that people have. So if you want to type your questions in the box, I will see if I can check them and stop sharing here. Okay. If anyone has any questions, share them in the chat box.
You so much, Kaylee, for this beautiful presentation. And anyone who has question, please.
Okay, how can we best make parents aware that teachers may find online learning challenging at this time? Thank you, Lucy. That's a very important question. And I think now, for one thing we have to recognize is that we're all experiencing something incredibly difficult, incredibly stressful. So for teachers, they're very much trying to manage multiple things right now, the emotions of themselves and the emotions of many children and young people. And they're trying to balance that with knowing the best practice in a situation like this isn't to focus fully on learning right now. In my opinion, as a psychologist, learning isn't full priority. Getting that emotional safety and making sure children feel okay, feeling validated, have those emotional check-ins so that they're ready to learn. Because readiness to learn is a key factor for children engaging with any learning. If they're emotionally dysregulated, they're not going to be taking in any information. They're not going to be focusing. They're not going to be in the rational thinking part of the brain. So very much, I think for at the moment, teachers are really trying to navigate a lot of things. So I feel like this moment in time, a lot of it is about connection and validation, and again, just establishing a new sense of routine. Okay. Um, and how can teenagers deal with school whilst being sleep deprived? Yes, very good question. I think, again, the focus right now, in my opinion, shouldn't be on learning output for children, because the same that we're experiencing with limited focus and a lot of things that are happening at one time, and feeling exhausted, like children are experiencing that intensified. So I would say that it's very important that we're keeping them to a routine to engage them with learning, but where you can see that they're really exhausted and really tired, just allowing them breaks in between for them to refocus, and ensuring that the activities they're doing at the moment are ones that they enjoy where they can, because there will be children that are really struggling to concentrate right now. So just one of the things that I found with families is that because children want to be close to their parents right now, sometimes just being in the room with them, would it be helpful if I'm sort of in the room with you while you do this, and setting a small target for them with their work is helpful rather than finishing the whole activity. Could we do this first bit, work on that, have a break. Okay, let's have a look at this next bit. It's at this period of time. That's a really appropriate to do, because we're just not functioning at our normal capacity. Okay, and I think that is it for questions, unless anybody had any more. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and feel free to reach out for any of the information or resource packs.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kaylee,
Take
and thank
care.
you everyone for coming. Please do send us an email at training at tdcc.a if you want the recording of this presentation, so we can send it to you. So thank you, Dr. Kaylee, for sharing these useful strategies, and thank you to all our parents, educators, and community members who join us today. Wishing everyone continued safety and well-being from the TDCC family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.